Hi besties, as you can tell by the title, in this video I will be responding to TikTok K-pop opinions once again. In my previous video I responded to some pretty ridiculous opinions, but in this video I wanted to include more toxic ones just because we kinda need to talk about how problematic K-pop TikTok is. Anyway, I tried to give my response while remaining as respectful as possible. Let me know your opinions as well. Now let's start. 4th Gen is the worst era of K-pop. It's no longer about music and dance, it's all about visuals and aesthetics because groups and idols who debut in 4th Gen are very mediocre and they can't sing, rap or dance. Well, this is just untrue on so many levels. I feel like this person completely generalized 4th Gen and called it a day. I actually think 4th Gen is the strongest K-pop generation when it comes to dancing. Besides a few 2nd and 3rd Gen groups who are very strong at dancing, I actually think 4th Gen as a whole is just on another level when it comes to choreographies. Now, speaking of vocals, people love to shit on 4th Gen's vocals, but there are actually many talented vocalists. It's just that people only look at the biggest groups that maybe are not super outstanding and they think the whole generation is mediocre when it actually isn't. Same thing goes for rapping. Some of the most popular groups right now might not have strong rap lines, but I can assure you there are many more groups you should take into consideration before generalizing a whole generation. I don't think 4th Gen is less talented than other generations. I just think the industry has changed and now idols are focusing on certain skills more than others. But they're not objectively less talented, not at all. And I personally believe that whoever throws this much hate at 4th Gen groups is just a salty 3rd Gen stan who can't accept the fact their faves are losing popularity and are being overshadowed by newer groups. Wonyoung is not the 4th Gen it girl. She's talented, but people labeled her as the it girl because of her visuals, not her talent. In my opinion, the it girl should be someone like Soyeon or Yeojin. Wonyoung is talented, but when has the it girl title ever been about talent anyway? An idol shouldn't be the it girl because they're talented. They are an it girl if they have the impact and the influence. If you go to South Korea, you'll see Wonyoung everywhere. She literally has so many brand deals that if you live in Korea and turn your TV on, you'll see her face continuously. Let's think about other it girls of the past generations. People like Jennie or Suzy. They weren't labeled it girls because of their talents but because of how talked about they were, because of how in demand they were when it came to brand deals, variety shows, etc. This person says people like Soyeon or Yeojin should be it girls, but as much as they're super talented, they do not have the impact Wonyoung does. And also, it's not fans that claim Wonyoung was 4th Gen's it girl. It's literally everyone that collectively thinks of her the moment you think of it girl. It's even news outlets that call her that. And last but not least, just the fact that she got the whole K-pop stan community triggered for eating a strawberry just tells you how much of an it girl she is. Because the amount of hate reflects the amount of popularity and influence she has. Everything becomes a problem only when it's Wonyoung doing it. Idols lip sync every day and people barely talk about it. But Wonyoung lip synced on national television and South Korea starts talking about introducing a law to ban lip syncing. If that doesn't scream impact, I don't know what does. Wonyoung wears something and it becomes a trend. Wonyoung styles her hair in a certain way and that becomes a trend too. Wonyoung does a silly little dance and it becomes a TikTok trend. Everything she does creates buzz, positive or negative, and that's how you know someone is an it girl. Momo's voice makes Twice songs unbearable to listen to. I literally love Twice songs, but the second she begins to sing I skip. Once says she should get more lines, but there is a reason she doesn't get more. She should get even less. Her mic rights should be revoked. A bit overdramatic if you ask me. Now let me get this straight. I don't like Momo's voice either, but let's be honest, it's not that bad as people make it out to be. I think the tone of voice she uses to sing is not very pleasant, and I do prefer how she used to sing during 16. But she doesn't sound awful to the point you have to skip the song. Come on now. I do agree that she shouldn't necessarily get more lines. I'm sorry, but some people are just weak vocalists and it's okay if they get a bit less than the others. Especially considering she's the main dancer and she always gets to shine a lot when it comes to performances. But she shouldn't get less lines, because if she gets less lines then she's never gonna improve. I think the amount of lines she's getting right now is the right amount for her singing abilities. If she happens to improve then she should get more lines, but as long as these are her skills I think she shouldn't. Anyway, I literally think this opinion was way too exaggerated. I might not like her voice a lot, but this just feels like hate disguised as an opinion. Sakura should have won Produce 48 and I think the reason Wonyoung won is because she's Korean and Sakura isn't. Okay, first of all, whoever is still talking about this in 2023 is a fucking loser. It's been 5 years and we should all have moved on by now, so if you're still salty about this, you're just fucking ridiculous. Second of all, as much as K-pop stans love to speculate on everything, we will never know the real ranking. Not to mention Wonyoung was one of the most popular and one of the most talked about trainees on the show. She was always being praised by the judges and she was so talked about all the time. It's not even hard to believe she legitimately ranked first. But like I said, it's just stupid starting a fan war and basing it all on pure speculation. And one last thing, it just pisses me off so much how some people act as if Sakura deserved the first spot more than Wonyoung. Wonyoung worked just as hard as Sakura during the show. Wonyoung also had one of the biggest improvements during Produce 48. And I'm sorry to say this, but she did improve her skills faster than Sakura did. If you say you would have preferred Sakura to rank first, that's okay. It's your opinion and it's valid. But acting like you know for sure the first place was rigged is totally wrong, because it only leads to hate and fan wars that could be easily avoided. In fact, it led to an innocent girl being the victim of a bandwagon hate when she was only 14. And this is fucking disgusting. Red Velvet should stick to singing. To be honest, I 100% agree. Red Velvet has one of the strongest vocal lines in K-pop, and even the members who are not main vocal level can actually sing pretty well, especially Joy. I've always felt like Red Velvet's raps were unnecessary. I'm sorry, but none of them is a good rapper, and making them rap is just a waste of their talents. Like I said, they all have pretty voices and they could show off their skills much more if they stuck to singing. I'm not saying their raps are horrible or anything like that. They can be catchy and I don't even mind them. But they kind of feel out of place sometimes, and I think SM should realize that some groups really don't need to rap in their songs. Some groups don't need a rap line at all. Rapping is not mandatory in a group. Let's just think about G-Friend. They basically never rapped in their songs and it worked perfectly fine. So I do agree with this opinion. Red Velvet should honestly stick to singing. I would prefer Mnet to rig survival shows if that means the group won't be a mess like Kepler is. I honestly think Kepler is a mess because they are being mismanaged and the company doesn't know what to do with them. But they're not a mess because of the lineup itself. I actually think the lineup works. It's just that some members are being heavily underutilized. I find this opinion very ironic, to be honest, because people kept complaining about Mnet evil editing some contestants while Angel editing others so that the trainees they wanted would debut in Kepler, which is pretty much like rigging. So if Mnet actually rigged the show, I kinda think the lineup would have pretty much been the same. I don't think it would have changed much. But anyway, I completely disagree with this opinion. I 100% believe rigging is never justified, no matter how great the final lineup is, because at the end of the day, even if Kepler's lineup was better, they would have still been mismanaged, so things would still be the same. I also hate how people talk about rigging so lightly, as if it didn't negatively impact real people with real feelings. Think of how terrible you'd feel knowing you were rigged out of a lineup you were supposed to be a part of. That's fucking awful. And I hate how you all don't take this seriously and don't actually give a fuck about the people involved. Putting Leah in ITZY was one of the most insane decisions from JYP. I can't express how much I disagree with this. How is putting a main vocalist in a group an insane decision? I know that Gigi is also pretty strong at singing, but I really think Leah is needed for her vocals, especially for her vocal color, which is so particular and pleasant to hear. Of course, Leah is not the strongest dancer and she's not the strongest performer. Her stage presence is the least developed in the group. But you know what? I actually don't care. She's in ITZY for her vocals, not for her performance skills. There's always gonna be that one member who is a bit behind the others when it comes to a certain skill. And as long as there are other people that are very skilled and can make up for that, then it's okay. ITZY needs Leah. They absolutely do. You can't just get rid of the main vocalist. Every group should at least rely on 2 strong vocalists, and Gigi can't carry ITZY's vocals alone. I'm not saying the other members are bad at singing, but none of them is on Gigi and Leah's level. So in conclusion, Leah is actually very important in ITZY, whether you like it or not. Well, this was it. Tell me what you thought of these opinions and if you agree with my response or not. If you have any other opinion you want to share, feel free to write it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.